So I don't have hostility because I don't have passion at the same time. Does that make sense?
No, I get it.
have to have either or, right? So I can't just be angry and at the same time not have passion, because then what am I being angry about? Like you said, I'm already agreeing that there was a God. Again, I say I do believe in God, but I have a lot of questions.
This episode is brought to you by Zing Media Co. Zing is a social media marketing company that helps small to medium-sized companies and organizations that want to make a positive impact in their communities. If you're in need of social media marketing, then reach out to Zing. Contact the team at zingmediaco.com.
Hey everyone, my name is George Orihinales. I'm the executive producer of Saved and Tatted and the creator of Radio Faith. If you've been following Charles and the Saved and Tatted show for a while, then you know that this show used to be on the Radio Faith YouTube channel. But you're here now and you see that Saved and Tatted has its own channel. Saved and Tatted is still part of the Radio Faith family, but Charles and I have been planning some new things for SNT, which means it's going to grow and it needs its own digital space. Also, Radio Faith is making plans to produce 2 new shows, which will be part of the Radio Faith family alongside SNT. I'll tell you more about those 2 new shows at the end of this episode. Thanks for taking the time to check out Saved and Tatted. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell to be notified when new episodes drop. Go ahead and let us know what you think about this episode in the comment section. And if you think someone else needs to check it out, then click the share button and send them the link. Thanks again for checking out the episode. Now I'm going to stop talking because I know you're here to listen to Charles. God bless.
Hey guys, welcome to the Saved and Tatted podcast. I'm Charles Turrubiate. I'm glad to have y'all back. Today I have something different going on. We got 2 guests on. We're going to kind of change some things up this season and see how everyone likes it. A lot of conversation. We've on the off time, we've decided that the conversation's been pretty good with more than one person when we're not filming. So why not bring more people on and more cameras? So I got George here, and I also got my boy Alfred.
How you doing?
I'm glad to have you, dude.
Hey, thank y'all for one. Thank y'all both for even inviting, because I'm a nobody from nowhere, so I appreciate it.
That's true. So no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Welcome to the Saved and Tatted podcast. Oh, here we go already. I've been doing good the whole time. Sorry.
Already getting nervous, man. So you've got a lot going on lately.
Yes.
You've had some ups, some downs, and I think today's episode is going to be really good for those who have questions, for those who have doubts and stuff like that. And, just going ahead and throwing it out there. The reason for that is because your beliefs are, what would you say, on the fence? Yeah,
I mean, on the fence is one thing. If we're going to talk, we're going right into religion. No, so, yes, on the fence and not. I do believe. Do I believe in everything? No, but that's also because I question a lot. And I think a lot of people question a lot. And if you don't question a lot, what are you doing? That's just my opinion. Just like in everything in life, you should have questions. You should look for answers. And then if you find peace in what you find, awesome. If it keeps you guessing, well, that's kind of where I'm at. So
I got you. So the crazy thing about all this, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast is with your thought process going in that direction. You've recently just beat cancer, right?
Kind of.
And so it was testicular cancer, and
Correct.
from there that part of your journey has already been finished, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes and no. It's a time thing. So cancer isn't more cut and paste, and then you're done. It's not that. So anybody that's dealt with cancer, and this is why I'm thankful for you to invite me, because this is part of it. So would you mind letting me start from the beginning?
Yeah, man, wherever you need to pick over.
Actually, the very beginning is, first of all, congratulations on this being season 2. I really enjoyed y'all's other episodes, and they're really awesome. So with me, testicular cancer came out of nowhere. And the people that don't know, this is why I wanted to get in front of people and even talk about it, because people ask me, like, you're going on a podcast? Oh, it's great. Why? And I'm like, well, because did you know that 15 to 40-year-olds is where it pretty much happens? 15 years old, starting out, it's like one of the earliest, 15 to 40. We think of cancer, we think of elderly. We think of older people, and that's it. We go about our lives and don't prepare, right? So with me, I was actually in the best shape that I've been in probably since high school. So it started out with me actually wanting to lose weight. So this is where cancer and me kind of found each other, and it lopsided. Testicular cancer, didn't hurt. I had zero pain until the very end before surgery, and maybe it was more in my mind because I knew it already, but I started losing weight because I needed to, right? I lost 40 pounds in 6 months, working really hard at it. So, and also I see you're on your weight loss journey, man, so congratulations, good job on it. It's tough. So I might look big on camera. Trust me, it's the chemotherapy that happened, all right? It's not because I've been eating Whataburger almost every day. But
I've been eating Whataburger every day.
I'm eating Whataburger every day. So point being, man, I started losing weight. And at the same time, this is what's funny. You think testicular, you think you're growing. For me, I always thought my stomach was always hurting, right? And I'll explain why later. But I'm thinking it's my diet, which it probably was too. So me losing weight makes me feel better initially, right? And so I'm forgetting about this pain. Like, I'm thinking it's going away. So if people ask me, how long do you think you had cancer? How long do you think it has been bothering you? Probably less than a year, maybe 6-7 months, where I really said, okay, I can remember something. Yeah. I lose 40 pounds. I go to the doctor because at this time, while I'm in the gym, it started getting in the way. Meaning, as guys, y'all know when y'all sit down, you have to adjust. Yeah. Point being, it was getting in the way. So I'm like, this is awkward. So then, something that we're probably not taught in school like we should, I inspected myself, and I'm like, this is harder than the other one. Okay? I thought I had a hernia because I had been lifting. Yeah. I started lifting weights again, right? Go to the doctor, and this is how it happens. And this is why it's important. This is why I'm so glad you all invited me. As men, right? Anybody. And women are better at this than us because they go get their breasts checked. They go get body checked. Us men are hard-headed. Yeah. We don't like to accept the fact that, hey, we're human and we're not supermen, and anything could happen to us like this. If I asked y'all right now, if y'all just spend $10,000 and not work, and you're out of your normal groove for 2, 3, 4 months, right now, this moment, how would you respond?
I don't know.
So, point is, I go to the doctor. He tells me like this. He goes, I've done this a long time. I can't tell you it's cancer, but I'm telling you it's cancer. Next week, we're going to have surgery. Wow. Or you cannot have surgery, and you'll probably die here in a couple years because what you have, most likely, testicular cancer, is aggressive. Testicular cancer is aggressive depending on your type. Now, not for everybody, but me personally, when it all went down, they do a biopsy when they pull the testicle out. So in 1 week, I had surgery. It was out. Yeah. First surgery in my life, that big, right? They do the inspection. They go, hey, you have non-sonoma cancer, which is an aggressive type. Here's the thing with testicular. From your testicles, it goes to your lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are a highway through the body. Yeah. So there's a time frame where I knew I had just had surgery. I know I have cancer. Is it spread all through my body? And where is this in life? You know? I'm kind of skipping ahead, but you don't get time to adjust to that. How do you even accept that? Yeah. Keep in mind, I said it in 1 week. I get told you have cancer. Hey, we're going to have surgery. And now you're waiting because now you're waiting for blood work. You're waiting for more tests.
Biopsies and
Keep in mind, all this, one CT scan is thousands. If you have insurance, you're absolutely lucky. You know? If you don't, what do you do? Yeah. So I've been trying to preparing for this, conversation in the podcast of why I wanted to come on, what's the main reason. I think just for people to prepare better, the best you can. Mm-hmm. Finances, because people are like, oh, well, I want to save up for this, I want to save for that. I tell you what, man, if it wasn't for certain insurances that I had, like critical illness insurance, I had to put a claim in for that. I don't know where I'd be. I don't know how.
I know that me and you had spoke before, like a couple weeks ago. Me and you had breakfast, and we had talked a little bit. And you had said that you think that it was crazy how it all worked out because your body was in the best shape that it had been in. Mm-hmm. Do you think that played a big role in you being able to get past that certain point of how how aggressive that cancer was and how like the toll, because I know it took a toll on your body. I remember talking to you after the surgery and everything, and you know, having your different side effects from chemo and stuff like that. Do you think that the shape that you were in, the physical shape that you were in, benefited you a lot?
Absolutely. And I don't know how I would be if I wasn't 40 pounds lighter, because what happens is, so every treatment's different. This is something else you learn with cancer, right? Every cancer has a treatment. I didn't have radiation. I just had chemotherapy. The meaning is radiation, if I had a mass in my body, they identify it and they attack it, right? Radiation. And then chemo kills the cells in your body and helps regenerate everything to get rid of the bad ones, right? Long story short, I'm not a doctor, so yes, to answer your question, absolutely. If I would have been 295 pounds, which I was before I lost weight, then no telling. For one, mentally. Because, you know, you've been in the weight loss. That helps you so much more mentally. You know, it puts you in a whole different mindset. It helps you get more focused and more positive outlook on life, because being heavy will put a detriment in, you know, it'll hurt you mentally, because then you're self-conscious. Even now, I'm like, if you see me doing this, it's called the big boy shirt pull. It's because I don't know how the camera's looking. I don't want to look too big. But so going back to that, so I lost 40 pounds, right? It took me 6 months. The chemo treatment that I had, after it was all said and done, my doctor said, all right, you're younger. You're going to have 7 treatments total, right? You're going to have one week is 5 days in a row, plus 2 Tuesdays back to back. That treatment, some people have that it takes them 7 months. They might take 2 treatments a week.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 1 treatment every 2 weeks. So like maybe 2 treatments in a month, and that's their treatment. Mine was 5 days in a row because of my age. They said, you can handle it. And let me tell you, that was tough. I went in on a Monday. I weighed probably 255 at that time. Wednesday, I had gained 18 pounds because of the amount of fluids that they put in my body.
Jeez.
Now, I'm not plugging my YouTube channel, but I did put this online for a reason, because I wanted to show the daily progression. And
plug it up, man.
And how, so Rod's Rundowns on YouTube, go check it out. I wanted to put on there because YouTube has been really big to me as far as just little things. Saved me a lot of money. I learned how to build a fence. YouTube has so much resources, you know. So I went on YouTube and looked, and I couldn't find any really good videos of testicular cancer. Like if I did, or even chemo, because I had so many questions, I would find people that would say, hey, I'm doing chemo today, and then 3 days later they'd go back and say, hey, well, it was bad, you know. Yeah. Which to me, I'm like, that really didn't help me.
So this is like a play-by-play of your journey.
Exactly. Every day, no matter what, even if I was in the hospital, I recorded, which I did have to go to the hospital for 3 days. That's another thing. So yeah, I gained 18 pounds in 3 days. Bloated as all can be. It was horrible. I couldn't imagine if that put me in the 320 category, you know. And then mentally, I don't know where I would be if I gained that much weight, plus everything else that comes with going through cancer.
Yeah.
You know, cancer did one thing for me. You always try to be prepared the best you can.
Yeah.
But you can't for everything, right? Especially if you're younger. And this is why I stress 15 years old is kind of like the range where it starts. I think my wife had told me one day, she's a nurse. And by the way, honey, I love you to death. Thank you for everything you've always done for me, especially through that time. She had like a 17-year-old patient with it. You know, that's huge. Wow. And in my mind, I've heard this, I can't remember if it was her or somebody else, but I've heard 17. And could you imagine at 17 having to deal with that? You know, it's like, it's a whole nother level of maturity.
So it sounds like your wife was a big support in you getting through that, you know, and I'm assuming you've had friends. I mean, me and you talked, you know, I'd come over to the house and pray with you and stuff. Do you feel like, other than the support of being at home and everything, what else was it that kind of like got you through all that? Because I mean, that's got to be difficult. Like for me, if I sit back and I think about me going through a situation like that, my first mind is going to be like, oh, God's got it. You know, God's got it. And not to just throw religion on you or anything like that, but just trying to get into your mindset of where you were at in your thought process of going through, like, what was it that you seeked help for? You know, how did you receive it? Who did you get it from?
Like I said, kind of YouTube. So I'm the type that if I have a situation or a problem, I like to find a solution and go for it, attack it, right? I like to have, just like everybody, I guess, organization in my life. If I say, okay, here's the problem, here's the solutions, let me go figure this out. If I have a plan or an idea, right? With that, it was more, hey, you have cancer? Okay, wait, we're going to find out how bad. And you're like, what?
It was like a waiting game.
I'm not at work. I'm at home. I'm looking at the same walls. I'm in my own mind, and it's like, me personally, I have I have my ways to cope, my coping mechanisms. Mm-hmm. Working out was one of them. Well, after surgery, taken away from me. Mm-hmm. I had nothing to do. I had to sit there. I physically couldn't do it. The cut is huge, and where it's at on your pelvis is like this big, and it's a horrible, it was horrible. But so that's taken away from me. People can say, hey, man, I'm praying for you, or whatever, like you see on Facebook, and thoughts and prayers. Oh, that's nice, but it only lasts as long as I read the sentence. And that's how my mind was working, right? Because in my mind, you get attacked with everything. Your coping mechanism is gone. You're at work. You feel you're at home. You feel useless. If you're lucky enough to get paid while you're home on disability, you're awesome. If not, what are you doing? Everything that you felt before, like, oh, I'm the man of the household, is gone. It's gone. So my wife, without her, it'd be I don't know. She and what the bad thing is, and the truth about it is, I was horrible to her through the time. I say horrible lightly, but I was tough.
Yeah.
Because as a person, you're getting tossed everything, and I'm trying my best to cope with it, but you can't. So there was one day in particular, I remember I went outside and I was crying. I was just all a mess. Now, back to religion. I'm not as religious as I probably should be, and we've discussed this before. I grew up Catholic in the church. Through getting older, I didn't like how some of it was going, especially in the Catholic Church, in my opinion. I always believed in God. I always did. Even now, I believe in God. But I have a lot of questions. I have a whole lot of questions, right? So at one point, I went outside, and I don't pray every day. I don't have a consistent prayer thing. So I went outside, and I said, I don't know anymore. Like, I was broken. This isn't a week's time frame, keep in mind. So all the emotions are so bad of a roller coaster, it's crazy. That first week after surgery from waiting was a mess. So I go outside and I'm like, you take it from here. I don't know. I don't know what to do, right? Which helps a little bit. It does for me. And again, you're asking yourself all these, like, what's next? What do I do? Who do I even talk to? Now, I will say one of the biggest helps was people like yourself reaching out saying, hey, man, I'm here for you. The love and outpour that I saw on social media and through my family, I knew I had a lot of people backing me. And I had people from high school that I hadn't talked to in 12, how long has I been out of high school? It's 07 from now, so 14 years, give or take. I had people from high school that I ain't talked to.
Math, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm dyslexic, so I'm like 20. So I had people from high school reach out that I haven't talked to since then, and they're like, hey, matter of fact, one guy, Chris B, appreciate you, man. He actually dealt with the same thing back then. And so, like, he was telling me, hey, man, I had this, and this is what I did treatment. And it was almost identical, me and his thing. So he helped me a lot. So my peers helped me a lot. Family was helping me a lot. My wife helped me out overall. She was my rock through it all. And I feel so bad because she had to deal with the emotional roller coaster that I was.
She got the raw end of it.
Man, yes, she did. And it's very unfortunate. And I tried not to. And as a person, all I can do is better from it and see it. And I told her last night when I told her I was going to come on the podcast, she's like, don't tell any sad stories. Be the funny guy. And I'm like, well, I want to be funny, but the truth of the matter is, it's a depressing thing. Yeah, it's extremely depressing, especially when I know I look back at it, and it's still fresh in my mind, all this. But you think, well, man, I could have been so much nicer to her. Like, I'm expecting so much of her, but for why? Why? She, because she was the only thing there. She was the only person there to hear me vent directly. Because when you're going through it, you have to have, your immune system is shot. You can't be around people because you get sick instantly, real easily, because your immune system's depleted, which I did. I actually went to the doctor, and I after one of my treatments, I was in the hospital for 3 days with, we call it the poo-poo doo-doos. So, it's called C. diff. C. diff is actually an intestinal bacteria that's in everybody, but if you have no immune system, it overwhelms you. So I had one of my treatments, and it pretty much, like clockwork, 4 hours after my treatment, I had a fever. I was fighting. I felt like I was dying. Yeah. Like the first night, because I had 2 treatments, 2 Tuesdays. The first Tuesday, put me in the hospital for 3 days. My blood pressure was really low, and I don't remember the number, but I've never felt like that. I'm a big guy. I always have high to elevated blood pressure, or right on to elevated. So me having low blood pressure was like not good. But
I know you said that you walked outside and you said, "Hey God, fix me if there is." So now that you've kind of overcome that area, do you feel like he's the one who answered your prayers, or because now that you're on the upside of it, you're kind of like, I don't know if that was him. I don't know if it's just this is the way it was playing out, or it was something, a higher being, but I don't know if it was him being God. Like, where do you sit with that? Like,
I think to answer that the most honest way, if I can, it brought me some comfort. But at the same time, if I'm thanking him for getting rid of it, I'm have to thank him for giving it to me.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest,
Yeah.
And so that's where it's conflicting with me. I'm like, I do believe. I mean, you look around and you start really thinking, like, what are we? Why are my thought process, my emotions like this? What makes a person good? Your instincts, all that. Like, there's something. There's definitely a God. Like, but again, if I thank him for saving me, well, hey, you also gave it to me, man. If that's how I'm looking at it, which I'm trying not to be like that. I'm trying to better myself daily and learn, right? And I think that's the biggest part is educating myself as far as that goes. Like, for instance, we discussed it. If people are critical about the Bible, well, first question is, have you read it? Mm-hmm. And the honest answer is no.
That's good.
And I don't want to be that guy who judges something I don't have knowledge on. Like, I will never go toe to toe with this man right here about anything, because I've heard his podcast and the dude's awesome. So the only thing I can really discuss, man, is, like I said, what happened with me and how I felt. And if you ask me, do I firmly believe in God afterwards? I mean, like I said, I believe, but am I going to church every Sunday now and think? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
That's good.
The only reason I ask you this is because I feel like with the type of audience that we're trying to capture, with the people who we're wanting to watch Saved and Tatted, are those who are either on the fence of finding relationship with God, or those who are in the midst of maybe, I don't know what to believe and what to believe. Mm-hmm. And I find your situation so unique because you were at a point where, in my mind, as a Christian and me being a believer, you say, okay, well, if I have to thank you for taking it away, I also have to thank you for giving it to me. In my mind, the first thing I go to was he gave it to you so you could run to him. Oh. That's how I see it.
Okay.
There are going to be people who are going to want to think that way, but then they're going to be in your mindset. And that's why I'm asking you these questions, is because I want want other people to know, like, hey, you got, I want to believe in a God, but why did he take my parents from me? I want to believe in God, but why did he take my kid from me? I want to believe in God, but why did he put me through a divorce? Why am I dealing with this financial struggles and stuff like that? And all those questions are questions that I know you have, because, like I said, we talked that one time at breakfast about it. And that's one of the reasons why I was kind of like digging into that, is because I feel like those type of questions are the type of questions that need to be answered, mm-hmm. or given some type of response. Because the last thing you want to do is, in a moment where God is trying to present himself, the last thing I want is for you not being able to have that opportunity to see that, Mm-hmm. And so I don't want you to think that just because of the podcast and because of what the podcast stands for, that you can't have your own thoughts. Because it's like I told you at breakfast, man, like, what you believe is what you believe. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. I believe what I believe. Me and you are still, we're still friends and stuff like that. So people, and I think that's healthy. That's good that we can have an opposite of opinion, especially in something so big as that, mm-hmm. and still be able to cope with one another, hang out with one another and stuff. So, just throwing that out there for, anyone who's watching or listening. This isn't any type of thing of, hey, you know what? I'm going to bring Alfred on the show and I'm going to show him who God is. And, hey, I'm going to preach the gospel, because that's what I do, mm-hmm. but at the same time, I'm not going to throw it down your throat the way, and I don't want to come off that way.
Yeah, that's good. Come here. Yeah, I think that what you said was really good about the transparency and very logical. Where if you healed me from this, then that means you let this happen, which is very logical, and it's true. If we believe, if someone claims that God is sovereign in control of all things, that means that he is either directly or indirectly in control of even the bad things. Now, as Christians, we would think that God is the Father of all good gifts come from the Father. He gives us good things, and he allows bad things to happen. Because if he doesn't have any say-so in the bad things, then that means that there's a part of creation that he's not sovereign over. He does not have control over that. Mm-hmm. And when, I just think about that, though I've never experienced anything to what you've experienced, I would like categorize it like in suffering and pain. I think that's a really logical place to go, and even beneficial to ask that question of why did you let this happen? Whether it's testicular cancer, the loss of a mother or father, loss of a child, whatever horrible thing you can think of. Because if you're not asking those questions and you're thinking God's just that heavenly vending machine that's just pumping out good stuff for you, when the bad stuff happens, you feel like he's not there anymore. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that's for people that hold to a Christian faith. When tragedy hits, they think like, where are you at? This isn't supposed to happen. I love you. I serve you, and you're not taking care of me. And unfortunately, I've seen it happen. I've seen some Christians where they go through loss of someone, and God forbid I've ever experienced that. Like one of my family members passing away so early in life, but them thinking, like, I'm a Christian, this isn't supposed to happen to me. Like, no, that's not. It
doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible.
Nowhere. If anything, you look at the Bible and read it honestly, there are so many horrible things happening to people that do love and serve him. And I'm thinking, while you're talking about the book of Job, I mean, this is the most righteous man at the time, and God points him out. Like, the enemy saying, hey, I've been to the back and forth through the earth and yada, yada, yada. And God says, hey, have you seen Job? That dude loves me. That dude serves me. And no, okay. So God like highlights Job for the enemy. And then the enemy says, the only reason he worships you is because you've taken care of him. And God's like, okay, well, go ahead, do your worst.
Yeah.
Just don't kill him. And let's see if he continues to worship me. And you read the book of Job, and it's horrible. He loses everything, his children, his riches. The only thing he's left with is his wife. And his wife is telling him, hey, curse God and die. Just get it over with. He has boils and he's sick, and his friends are like, well, you must have done something wrong because God wouldn't do this. And then he comes to a breaking point, kind of like what you were mentioning, where he just says, hey, in a very long, poetic way of what's going on here. And God comes to him and pretty much in a few words, he says, I'm God and I'm in control. Mm-hmm. And Job says, all right, okay. He never gives Job an explanation. We as the reader know what happened, but Job never gets an explanation as to why it happened. And I think that's like the beauty and wisdom of that book, is that is us. That you may never know, like, this is why I gave it to you. Mm-hmm. And I may never know what any tragedy that may befall me, why he allowed it to happen. Mm-hmm. I can think about it and speculate, but I'll never get a clearer answer on this side of eternity. And even if he wants to give me a clear answer later, but the point of Job is like, I know what I'm doing. If you really believe that I have control and I'm sovereign and I'm good, you have to rest in that. And that's a difficult pill to swallow for a lot of people.
I think that was when I first started my walk, when my dad passed away. That was the first time that I had ever turned my back on any possibility of me running to God, because of the fact of my dad was such a good guy. You knew my dad. And that's actually, so it's a crazy story how we've actually met and interacted. He was the officer who, what is it called?
At the time, I was a correctional officer in the jail.
And you were the one who booked me in, I guess.
Yep.
Checked me in.
Sprayed him down with the water hose.
Yes, I did. Yeah, he was dirty.
Threw powdered sugar at me. The lice hate the sugar.
If I can step in on that real quick.
Yeah.
Man, so yeah, if you've ever listened to their podcast, which you should go back and listen to all the other ones. It's really good. Man, your dad was a wonderful person. So was your mother. And you've talked a lot about them through your podcast, right? Mm-hmm. Your dad was like a father figure to me, actually. He was awesome. Funny, one of the funniest guys I knew, man. If I got time for a story real quick.
No, go ahead.
If you remember this, I'm not sure where you're at in your life, but I forgot, anywhere from 2008 to 15, there was a hurricane, and he had to stay the night in the jail. Everybody had to stay the night in the jail, right? I started the county in 2008, so I was young. I was fresh out of high school, and just when you get thrown in that world as a young person, you grow up really quick.
Yeah.
Right? Well, your dad, we all had to stay in this one cell in the jail overnight. Keep in mind, we had to wake up at 6 a.m. to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
We're in there, and you would think this guy is a toddler in a stayover. He was loud all night to the point where we all had our own toilet paper rolls, kind of like we were inmates, but we all had them. And I remember at one point, it's like 3 a.m, and he is just laughing, making everybody mad. Everybody at one point just starts throwing toilet paper rolls at him. Like, shut up, Turbo. We called him Turbo, right? Turrubiate. And we're like, shut up, Turbo. And he's just laughing, having a ball, man. And then, of course, he got diagnosed with cancer and passed. And I took that one hard, too. But when you actually went in, I remember him coming and talking to me. He's like, hey, man, hey, Rod, my son's here. He's your age, about it. Can you go talk to him? Just get to talk to him, see where he's at, yada, yada. And that's how I got introduced to you. Mm-hmm. Well, you looked a lot different. You were clean cut. You had a shaved head.
About 100 pounds off.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, we were both there. And I remember talking to you, man. I remember you being upset. You're like, yeah, I'm here. You're going through it, right? Yeah. Which anytime you go and you work in the system like that as a police officer or correctional officer, you talk to people on a daily basis, and you try to help them the best you can. They burn a lot of bridges. A lot of guys, hey, I'm never coming in or coming back. And they do. And you're like, well, that was wasted. You start having that negative outlook. But your dad, man, one of the most positive guys to us, that he was so consistent. It's like he never had a bad day, just a light to be around. So I'm blessed to even have the chance to know him. And, of course, I got introduced to your mom when he passed, and we reached out to her and said, hey, if you need anything, let us know. We're always here for you. The wristbands, the blue wristbands were always that thing. And that's how I got introduced to you. And then fast forward, what was it, like 10 years? That's how I met you at Paul's house? Or we went.
I think it was a crawfish party.
Yes.
Yeah, crawfish for his birthday, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's when I met you. And then all of a sudden, I don't know how it came up, but Turbo came up where I saw the wristband.
You saw my wristband.
I'm like, how did you get that? Yeah. And lo and behold, that's how I met you, And then, of course, we discussed it. I knew your wife we grew up with each other all through grade school and graduated. And the earliest, she might remember this, but the earliest I remember, they had us in like a computer class, and they gave me and her the job of cleaning out the keyboards. Now, we were like in elementary school, so imagine the gunk and the nastiness that are in these keyboards. And I don't know how we even got picked for that job, but they put us to work. But yeah, man, your dad was awesome. Awesome cat.
I appreciate that, man. No, I always love the stories. And that was the thing. Like, I hear stories like that all the time, and it just, when he ended up getting sick, I think from the time that he got diagnosed to the time he passed, it was maybe like 9 months. And like I've stated before in other podcasts, like, we were the type of family that we would go to church, but it wasn't like a every Sunday kind of thing. It was Christmas, holidays, when something bad happened, when we needed to go, for a program or something like that. We weren't consistent. And so when he passed, my family when he got diagnosed, my family went all in. We'd have scriptures posted up on the wall and everything. And in my mind, I was just like, I'm not going to be that walking contradiction. I'm not going to go and put forth all this effort into praising something that at that time I didn't know if he really existed or not. And I had the mindset, like, if he is real and he can do all this, like, why did my dad get this cancer in the first place? Like, my dad was an amazing man. And so when he finally passed, it was like, oh, dude, I was mad. I was like angry at God. And it's like I had told you when we went to go eat breakfast, was that's one of the biggest things, is if you can say that you are angry at God and you have those feelings of question or doubt or like just animosity towards him, like, you have to admit he's real then. Because how could you be mad at something that doesn't exist? And so that right there was already a step of like, okay, I can say that he exists, but he's not who everyone thinks he is. What had me change my mind was, and I believe that was the first time God tried to get a hold of me. I think that, a lot of times people go through things and you go through them not because for you, they weren't meant for you, they were meant for someone else. Your testimony is not, I believe that your testimony is not meant for you. Your testimony is always meant to be given to someone. And I think that was for me. Like, my dad getting sick was for me, for God to get a hold of me. And when I ran in the opposite direction, God kind of just gave me some time. And then with my mom getting sick, it was like the complete opposite. Like, I dove all into church. me and my mom, we had a good relationship, but we didn't have the best relationship. We butted heads a lot. We were a lot alike. And so that last year that my mom was alive was probably the best year that me and my mom had ever had. And I thank God for that. And I think that was one of the reasons that was one of the things that God wanted to give me was like, look, I know you and your mom have had your differences, and I know that the type of relationship y'all have had hasn't always been a positive one, but here you go. And me and my mom grew close in that 1 year. I mean, and that's when my mentality changed in, okay, I got to look at stuff from the outside. You know, I look at it like, okay, well, yeah, he gave you what he gave you, but maybe it was because to draw you closer to him. But I get the questions of like, well, why did he have to do it that way? Well, why did I have to receive it? Like, why did this have to happen? And then I go back and I start thinking as a Christian again, it's like, well, would I have listened any other way? Like, would he have been able to catch my attention with something not so severe? And I could say probably not, you know? And, you know, what you were saying, George, as far as like, you know, he's sovereign over everything. It's the fact of not being able to have the questions answered that I think pushes people back. And I think that's one of the things is that people think that us Christians believe that we know the answer to everything wrong that's going in the world. And me personally, I don't. I don't know why certain things happen. I don't know why certain people have to deal with certain situations and other people don't. But I do know that with him, my life has been better. And all I can hope for and all I can pray for is to give other people the opportunity to experience the same kind of love and grace and help that I've received from him. And I think that's the biggest thing, man. Like, it doesn't have anything to do with, like, I'm going to prove to you that God is real and that you're wrong. It's, bro, what you're going through right now, there's no other thing that I believe you need more than God. And if you can't believe in that, then I'm going to show you as much of love that God has through myself towards you. And that's why I reached out to you as much as I did. And that's, you know, that's one reason why, you know, I told you, hey, if you need prayer, let me pray for you. You know, when I went over to the house and we prayed in the driveway and stuff like that, it was just something that I knew where your beliefs kind of stood in a way, but at the same time, I wasn't going to allow that to alter my faith. Like, you may not have full faith in what's happening, but I know that my faith is strong enough for the both of us, kind of thing.
And that's good. And that's good that you said that you're not going to push it on people, because I think that's, like, for instance, the saved and tatted, right? The first word is saved, which I'm going to get to tatted in a second. I want to talk about tattoos. I know George doesn't have tattoos, but this goes, it has to be brought up every podcast, right? You ask people about their tattoos. So I have a lot of tattoos. You just don't see them. But which leads me to 50-50 between the two, right? Hey, so, but point being, you know, that's something that needs to be brought up, man, that you're not going to push your faith, because a lot of people already deflect that. They're like, oh, he's pushy. I don't want it. You know, that's just one of those things. You go to the mall, you pass by one of those, you try to avoid the people in the center selling you something. Yeah. Well, it's part of it. You know, that's just how mentality is. They're like, oh, you're shoving it down my throat. Stop. You know, it's not something, you know. So letting people believe what they want that's what it's supposed to be. We're all individuals, right? And I think that's part of the issue with the world nowadays, where people almost like they thrive to be accepted. When why? Yeah. Just be happy with yourself. You know, like, what makes you happy? Can you sleep good at night? Perfect. You know, I don't need for somebody else to say, agree with me. That's where the difference between arguing and conversating happen. When you try to force that person to believe you, when in reality it's, okay, this is my opinion. If you don't, you know, take it, learn from it. The day we stop learning is the day we stop growing, right? Which is also another reason why I don't mind. I'll read the Bible. I probably need to. Now, keep in mind, I grew up in the church, Catholic. I was raised Catholic, you know, First Communion, confirmation, everything. Youth group leader. I love the youth group, right? Which is probably the reason why, not to go too far off into it, being a lead, I went through the youth group for 4 years. The last year I was ahead of it because I could talk real well, right? Or I spoke too much probably. And so we had a new father come in, and he wanted to shut the youth group down because, to his opinion, it wasn't enough children. Like, man, there's 20 of us sitting here. What about us? You know, so that already had me thinking in that process, like, well, who is he and why? Yeah. You and me are the same, but yet you think you're holier than me. Why? Because you read more? You know, so this is where the conflicting started. And, like, why does he think like that? You know, he should be happy for us, right? That's part of it. So at a young age, I let that affect me, right, which pushed me through working in the jail. And working in the jail, God ain't there, in my opinion. A lot of times, I say that very loosely. Yeah. Because you see the worst. Mm-hmm. You see the worst. So, unfortunately, your mind starts shaping that way. And if you're strong enough to fight that and stay true to who you are, like your father was, man, you're ahead of the game. Mm-hmm. You know. But me being young in that situation and looking at life that way, it put me in a negative way. That's eventually why I left, because I was like, man, I can't do this no more. Every day I'm waking up getting cussed at, fighting, yelling. Yeah. You know what? And people wonder why police are in a bad mood. Man, that's why. Mm-hmm. Now that doesn't go for all of them. I'm not going to speak for all of them, because nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop, and I'm going to leave it at that, right? But that mentality shapes you, and I didn't like how it was shaping me. So even me being out of that work and that environment for now, I don't know, I think I've been out 8-9 years, less than give or take. I'm still working through it, you know? So, but let's go into tattoos real quick, right? So you have no tattoos, correct?
None that I know of.
And so yeah, none, but you're also.
There was that one time.
So, and in your mind, you're an artistic person, so is it hard for you to even decide?
Yeah, that's primarily it. So I mentioned the first episode, there was a point where because how I was taught and raised, where don't get tattoos, but now if I were to get a tattoo, and I've thought about it, I don't know what to get.
Correct.
It's just I don't know what I would want on my body for the rest of my life.
And dude, I don't blame you, because 80% of mine I regret. So like I have like both my arms, and this is, I'm not even gonna show this horrible arm. It's ridiculous. And then my leg and my back, which I'll never do my back. High back, not lower back.
Don't lie.
Yeah, no, okay, lower
KJ.
back. No, it's all lower back.
KJ, show us your lower back.
And so, yeah, I don't blame you for not, man, because if I can go back and do it again and have them all go away, I would. I really would. Yes. Yeah, man. You know how many okay, so keep in mind, from like 16 to...
I mean, they do look like prison tats.
Most of them were in the houses. This is how bad it was. My cousin, shout out Joe Compion, one of the best tattoo artists in Houston, Texas.
He's pretty legit.
Yeah. He started my tattoo process, right? So it's addicting. It's so addicting. You enjoy the pain. You're like, I want to go back for another one. I want to complete it. But here's where we're different, and this is where me and him probably agree. I love tattoos because I was hooked on them, but I won't get them to where they can show anywhere. So if I wear a regular T-shirt, you might see a glimpse of them, but you're not going to see them on my forearms.
Yeah. No face tattoos, Charles.
Definitely no face tattoos, man.
Did you see that?
Yes, I was like, okay, he put a filter on it. It's not real. Awesome.
So I legit want a face tattoo.
This is going to be a good conversation.
I want one here or either above the eyebrow. So Marissa already says no.
Okay,
Marissa
blood in, blood out.
Deal breaker. I'm like, all right, cool. So one day I just decided to see what it looked like. So I drew with a pen right here, and I literally put Marissa's name over my eyebrow. That's what I wrote. And so I was like, I'm in the mirror, and I'm like, this looks good. Like, I like it. I thought it looked good on me. Marissa's always said nothing past the sideburns. So I can get a sideburn tattoo. I just can't get nothing the front of my face. So I'm like, all right. So I did it and everything. I made the video, and that video was a while back. Well, then something, I don't know what it was, but I started getting that urge again that I wanted another tattoo. And I always said the next tattoo I was going to get was going to be a face tattoo. So I put that post up on Facebook like, hey, thinking about getting a face tattoo. Tell me what you think. And that was right before my birthday.
Yeah.
And so as soon as we get to birthday dinner, everyone's just like, you better not. Don't do that, blah, blah. And I told them, I said, you know what? There's a video that I made where I drew it on there. And I was going to post saying, oh, yeah, I ended up getting it. So, to everyone who said no. And I found that video. And so that's why I ended up posting it, was to see. And, man, bro, talk about, you say people reached out to you ain't talked to in a while. Man, I had people commenting, giving me their opinion. I'm like, I haven't talked to you in like 15 years. Why am I going to listen to what you're telling me? But most of them were like, you're an idiot.
So the only way I got to respond to that is, I have a saying. It's like, you don't pay my bills.
That's true.
I don't pay your bills.
Yeah.
But as a friend, I'd ask why. Why a face tattoo?
I like it, man. I don't know. I like it.
I do know what I think. I don't know if I mentioned this last time that I know what tattoo I would get.
No.
Where
my name?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whataburger symbol. That would be dope.
Right here on my wrist.
A Whataburger emblem.
Yeah, it's so I think I've told you before. I have a word of the year that I focus
Oh, that's
on.
right. Yeah,
Did
you
I
did
mention
tell
that
me.
last
You
time?
told me. Yeah.
I mentioned it here.
And you was you
Okay,
mentioned
yeah,
it
so I
on
don't
the
know if
podcast.
If you were listening to that podcast where I mentioned, I know what it would be. It would be the word that I have for each year because it has meaning. It's just I still don't know what style or what artistic
What
whatever.
you should do is you should get the WWJD, but the W's be the Whataburger symbols. That'd be
And then
dope.
the J is a Jack in a Box.
Then Jack in a
And
Box.
the D is Domino's.
Bro.
Wow. Well, hold on.
That's
You can't,
legit.
Hold on now. You're gonna have to pick one because when it comes to actually them probably sponsoring you, and
Oh,
you,
yeah.
they're
They're not
gonna
gonna
be like,
want all of them
"Hey,
side by side.
we would
So,
do this, but you can't put Domino's." They're like,
You
"Now
know,
you're."
you should.
So if you want to
the
get
Chick-
sponsored,
Yeah,
the
get
Chick-fil-A,
Chick-fil-A.
just
Get
right there on
Chick-fil-A,
my
bro.
wrist.
there you go.
Whataburger
but-
and Chick-fil-A right there.
I mean, you could. I don't know. I to me, tattoos are just. I don't know. They're like artistic. Like there's just,
I don't know. But you
Put a
can't
face.
erase this canvas. It's
That
there
is true.
forever.
bro.
Unless you go get the
I've
surgery
always
or whatever.
seen this meme, and I've always believed in it. And it's people always saying like, "Why did you get tattoos?" And they say, "Because it makes me look better naked." And it's true. Like it hides a lot of these curves, these lady lumps.
Oh man. I knew that.
George is like, "Why this episode?"
No, it's funny that the sentence, like I guess anyone that starts out a sentence with "there's this meme" and I really believe it.
One time on Reddit,
Yeah.
that's what it's like.
No, but
So-
I mean,
So, again, man,
you wouldn't get anything for your cancer journey?
tattoo wise,
Yeah.
oh, probably. You know, here goes the typical phoenix coming out of ashes. You know, but again, I have look, my left arm,
Blazing.
my left arm is horrible. I'm not even gonna show it. Right, like early. So I want to cover the whole thing up. This is again why I'm like, I don't blame you, man. If I could do it again, I would definitely. You know, if I got to the point where I haven't had a tattoo until my 30s, I'd probably be right there with him. Like, I'm not doing it until I know. Because you're dumb at 16, 17. Men are dumb, right? We are dumb. We are dumb looking at the camera. So,
Don't group me in with you.
okay, it's face tattoo. Look, and nothing wrong. Look, I'm not even saying nothing wrong with face tattoos. Again, this goes back to I'm not going to judge people. But if you got a face tattoo, I'm going to roast you every single chance I get. So it's just one of those things. But also, like I said, I would love a forearm tattoo.
Yeah.
But mentally, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. But again,
can see
I don't pay your bills. You don't pay my bills. Just do what you want. It's 2023, man.
That's
Just
true.
know it's coming with some. It's coming with some jokes. It's gonna come with some jokes. What am I gonna say? This is the point where you have to think about what to say sometimes.
Is it you've hit that
Edit.
that
Edit.
wall?
Edit. Yeah, edit.
Break. Let's
Break.
think. Okay,
Contemplate.
recap.
Yeah.
So, I got something for you. So, your whole process of going through what you've gone through, do you feel hostility towards God?
Hostility?
Because I know you say you question Him. Like
Uh-huh.
if you gave it to me, then, you know, if you healed me from it, you had to have given it to me. Does that make you angry? Like, do you feel angry? Because I mean, like 110% when my pops passed, angry.
Yeah.
Like throw the fingers at God. That's literally the mentality I had, because it made no sense to me.
No. Hostility? No. Let me tell you why. Because with hostility, there has to be passion involved, and I have too many. It's more question than passion. So there's no
Facts.
hostility. It's facts. There's no
Like a logical
yes.
consideration.
So I don't have hostility because I don't have passion at the same time. Does that make sense?
No, I get
I
it.
have to have either or, right? So I can't just be angry and at the same time not have passion, because then what am I being angry about? Like you said, I'm already agreeing that there was a God. Again, I say I do believe in God, but I have a lot of questions. Hostility, no. More, and I'm very hard on myself as a person. Matter of fact, a couple tattoos that mean the most to me, if I were to not delete them, on this arm I'm my own worst enemy. And on this one, my leg, I'm rather be an open sinner than a false saint. So that goes along with my mentality of, if I were to come out of this and say, oh, I believe in Jesus and all that, I almost would feel hypocritical, because I'm only thanking Him for blessing me, you know, or again.
But what if that's His only way of getting a hold of you?
And you know, it might be. If
Is to
that's,
bless you that way.
here's the thing. If I love how you found passion in that, and that's because what we talked about in breakfast. Me personally as a person, that makes sense, right? I'm so my mind's always running, right? And maybe you can understand this with being artistic. Your mind probably moves 100 miles an hour, you know, thinking of, oh, this, look at this. Especially when we're setting up all the equipment, I could see your focus, right? That's how mine works. But I'm also doubting at the same time. This goes, I'm my own worst enemy. I'm never satisfied, right? With a lot of things. Or the more I get older, the more I'm like, you know what? I don't have to double think this no more. My wife, best person, best situation I've ever been in. And I know that if I were to lose that, I'd never find anything that even comes close, right? She's everything to me. So that I'm done with. And I don't have to worry about it no more. Before, I was married once. Is this it? Am I really happy? Am I not? So much conflicting issues, right? Always going. Again, I was at the county. My mind was different. But point being, I was never satisfied. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And then there comes the doubt. And it was right. Maybe the instinct was correct because it produced me and my wife being together. So to kind of, I can ramble on for hours if you haven't noticed. But no, I don't have hostility. I think at the same time, I'm more. It's still so fresh, but it's also still so confusing because at the same time, you can say it out loud, like, man, you just went through cancer. I'm like, oh yeah, I just went through cancer. Even my stepdad was kind of like telling my mom, he goes, man, he's taking it real easy, like real good in the middle of it. In reality, I wasn't. I'm putting on a show because I have to. I put it out there online, and some people say, oh, well, you brought attention to yourself, which I really wanted to bring attention to the situation.
Yeah, to help other people.
To help other people.
It wasn't about you. It was about...
Correct. Now, early on, there came a point in time where financially it was devastating because I'm like, I'm out of work. I'm getting short-term disability. That's only 70% of a check.
That's not enough.
And on top of that, I had to lose a couple of weeks of work to even get that. So I went a couple of weeks without paycheck. Some people live paycheck to paycheck, right? I'm very well in that category of if I lost my paycheck for a month, I don't know where I'd get the other money from,
Yeah.
You have to start thinking creative. So I think I was more mad at myself than God.
That you weren't prepared?
Correct. And I hate that. I hate not being prepared.
Gotcha.
I hate not being on time for stuff. When I was late to breakfast that day, I was mad at myself. I'm like, you're never late, right? Like, and that's why I showed up really early today. And so,
too
you're welcome. Too early. I was here. I was moral support. And so, no, I was more mad at myself.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's who I go back to. Like, well, why did you allow it to be like this? And at the same time, you're getting told, man, just relax. Take it easy. Just. You going through cancer.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm going through cancer, and my mind automatically slips to, but he's got it 10 times worse than me.
Yeah.
How can I sit here and dwell on this if that person, and then I'm fighting that urge, and now I'm more mad at myself that I'm going through cancer, and I'm upset about it, and I have no right to be upset about it because that person, like I have a buddy that's going through, he has brain cancer, right? He's been really lucky and fortunate to be at a certain point where he's at, but at the same time, that's brain cancer. I have testicular cancer.
Yeah.
And this is how I'm thinking in my mind. Like, I can just shut up, deal with it.
Who needs balls?
Well, I have one, but just one.
Just
We're
one.
gonna come to that in a minute, but
one.
that's a very a deep conversation to have, man. And as far as being mad yourself and accepting it, and I think that's something also, if I were gonna tell anybody that's going through this, it's like, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It's, you can only handle so much.
It's good.
Which I know you're already queuing something up for that.
Yeah.
But point being, we're only human, right? And this is why I think if I learned anything from this process, it was being easier on myself and not so rough and not so difficult. Like Alfred, you shouldn't be upset. You shouldn't be. Well, I think I have the right to be upset. But at the same time, let's get it together and organize.
But it's a self-battle.
Yes, it's a self-battle.
That's good, man. Go ahead. No, you go.
I just want to say I'm encouraged by your thought process, and I wish, as I think I mentioned earlier, more people would think that way, logically, especially Christians. But so often we want to, how to put this carefully, that you can check your mind at the door when it comes to faith and thinking about God. But I know people that have come to faith in a very logical manner and just thinking through that. And, God never asks us to not think, if anything, to think more. So I'm really encouraged by hearing that. And, I mean, like you said, we're young and dumb and we're not thinking about cancer or the end of our life or people dying or whatever it may be, like the difficult things of life. and you feel unprepared when it does. I mean, how do you prepare for every tragedy? You can't. It's not possible. But what you can do is do best in thinking carefully. When you're talking, it makes me think of part of Scripture where it encourages, I don't know if it's Proverbs or Ecclesiastes, where it talks about the person that spends more time in the house of mourning, the house of death, where people are crying because someone has passed away, understands life a little bit more. That, unfortunately, though, I think we don't spend a lot of time, or even any time at all, just thinking about what could happen. And when you think about, the only reason you prepare is because you realize something could happen, and we need to do that a little bit more. So, just like a real practical thing, what would you suggest to all the men listening to do? Because you said earlier that women go for their, is it called mammogram?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what do guys have to do to go forward with being prepared?
I think the first thing, in all honesty, check your ego, and don't think it can't happen to you. I went through losing my grandfather with cancer. He had lung cancer. My grandmother had cancer, and she beat it. Ovarian, and so again, she had so much worse than I did. She had a lot more treatments than I did, right? Hats off to her. Point being, men need to check their ego. They can say, "Oh, I'm good," and that's typically you ask people, "Hey, go get checked, man." "Ah, I'm good. I feel good."
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
I do that. I'll admit it.
And that's fine. So I come with the true facts. This is where I thrive, and this is why I think this podcast was important. I had to tell myself, like, "Why are you going on a podcast? Who are you? You got dealt a bad situation. That's it." I'm like, no, you know what? We don't get taught a lot. And if I can help educate anybody to get checked, and if somebody goes and gets checked and they find something, then I did my job here. And I'm like,
good.
you know what? Cool.
That's good.
I mean, I didn't know 15-year-olds can get this. So men need to really take a step back and say, what is being a man? If you want to be a man, then take care of your family. Take care of you. Because if you're dead, what good are you to them? You're a thought.
Yeah.
You're a memory. Okay. I tell guys like this, they're like, "No, I'm good. I don't need to go." Okay, cool. Well, if the money don't scare you, which it should, because do you have $10,000 right now to drop? Because as soon as they tell you have cancer, you're looking at 10 grand off the bat.
Yeah.
And that's on the low end. That's if you have insurance. I maxed out my out of pocket. I maxed out my my annual. I think it was annual out of pocket plus my my deductible. It was 10 grand instantly. If you have that money sitting around, you can let it go. Okay, cool. You're more prepared than me. Maybe you don't need to get checked because you got it all figured out. Oh, but do you not care about watching your kids grow up? Oh, you do care about having your kids grow up and watching them and going through all that and not just being a memory. Oh, okay. Don't go get checked then. Don't get checked. You're okay with watching your kids not grow or not seeing them grow up or not having a father.
Yeah.
Or leaving your wife alone. Okay, cool. So where do you become a man at? I'm too macho not to do it? Well, I wasn't pretty macho when they told me, "Hey, you have cancer. By the way, we're going to take your testicle next week, and if you don't, you'll probably die, so it's on you. What do you want to do?"
Rude awakening.
How macho can you be?
Yeah.
And so it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. Not only that, I don't have any biological kids myself, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Now I have 2 stepsons, and they wear me out as it is, right? So I'm good. Trust me. I got a little nephew, and that boy's got more energy than anybody combined that I've ever met. Is it a hard pill to swallow for maybe somebody younger? Yes.
Yeah.
I can imagine being 20s, maybe even 17, and being told, "Hey, you're never gonna have kids." What do you tell that person? They're too young to even realize I'm never gonna have children. I had been lucky enough to be prepared not to have kids. Me and my wife were trying. We didn't. It didn't happen. Fine, I accepted it. Because at the same time, I knew I didn't want to go out and look for another woman just to have a kid. That's not right. And especially even my wife, there's no way, right? But I was lucky enough to have that mentality going into it. So when they said, "Hey, you're gonna lose a testicle, your odds of having a kids are a lot less. You can do this whole freezing stuff, but by the way, that's another 10 grand." Okay. And it's not guaranteed.
So basically, just get money.
Just get money. You can either be rich and not care about your family, and you know what? Don't go get checked. If you're rich and you don't care about your family, don't go get checked. Or you don't care about yourself.
Yeah, I can get it, man. Because I can understand that. the whole macho thing. I could see how guys are like that. I'm not one to go to the doctor or anything, but I mean, when we heard about you, it definitely woke something up in me because of the fact of both my parents passing from cancer.
Yep.
I had gotten scared when my dad passed. I kind of forgot about it. Got scared when my mom passed. Kind of forgot about it. And then you see friends having it, people close to you having it, and you're just like, man, like,
It hit home.
you know, are you prepared for this thing? So, you know, I will tell you this, man. Regardless of where you stand on your faith, regardless of where you stand on what you believe, I 110% am proud of you and excited for the fact that you've surpassed this mountain and that you're able to share not just knowledge, but the type of situation that you found yourself in and how you overcame it, for being so transparent, man. And I thank you for coming on the podcast. I know that you said at the beginning, you know, like you're no one or anything, but man, like you said, if your story can at least help one person either find God or save their life, like either one of those two is perfectly, like that's more than enough, you know. So thanks for taking the time to actually come out and, you know, be vulnerable and let us know what's going on and how to take care of it and, you know, how your life's been going. So I do want to give you the opportunity, man. Just one,
yeah.
You got a quick, brief description of what this is and what you got?
Yeah, real quick. So if cancer did anything for me, and I had a YouTube video where I put it out. At the end of it, I said cancer woke me up, which it did. When you're sitting down and you're writing your will because you don't know if you're going to live, you're like, I'm 34 years old writing a will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what didn't I do? And that's kind of where it comes out. Like, what didn't I do? And why am I scared to do it? Why was I scared to do it? You know, you shouldn't be. So when I started working out, I had a saying in my mind, because again, I'm tough on myself. If I just do 1 mile a day, that's good. I'm good. Just 1 mile. Just let me get up out of bed. Let me go to the gym once this week, right? Something to start the process of building that habit, because that's all it's about, building a habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not being hard on yourself, saying, oh, if I'm not going to the gym for an hour, then I'm not going because it's useless. That's not true at all. You can go for 30 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. If you go,
Mm-hmm.
you're moving forward with the process. So just 1 started with just 1 mile. Lost a testicle, just 1. That's not part of it though. No, but so the roundabout, that was funny. That came up afterwards. I'm like, man, I never thought about that.
I like that.
But,
Say that.
So
That's what I thought it was about.
Yeah,
So
just one testicle.
man, which is funny,
It's
but
written
it is
real small down here, sis.
But I have proof that I had shirts made before this even happened, right? So when I started losing weight, I had made like 10 shirts and I passed them out to people and they're like, man, I love the idea, because just 1 started with, you just need 1 reason to keep going, 1 reason not to give up, 1 reason to fight. I always found myself looking for multiple, for whatever. Like, the truth is, you only need 1.
Yeah.
What's your 1 reason?
That's
Are you
good.
saying that 1 reason is enough? No, it is. So stick to it. So I ask people, what's your just 1?
That's
It
good.
can relate to anything.
And so you have an actual online
Correct.
store thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to put that link up for you
Okay.
On the podcast so people can go ahead and grab some merch. I mean, these shirts are really nice, man.
I appreciate it.
The sweaters, that's exciting stuff, man. To be able to motivate people and see in my Christian mindset, I'm like, man, look at God. Like, God just was already setting you up for all this and everything. Blessings, bro. Like, I pray blessings over you, and I pray that you're completely healed of overall, you know, everything that you're dealing with, and that the shirts are a success for you and everything.
Can I interrupt you real fast?
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
this goes out to the people more than anything. The reason the shirts even started, like, I actually went to get on the website, put it out there, was simply because I told myself I'd never do it.
Gotcha.
So
You had to prove
cancer
yourself wrong.
woke me up.
Yeah.
6 months ago, I made the shirts. People loved the idea that I talked to, like, man, you should run with it. And I didn't. I was too nervous about what people thought, what people said. Like, I don't want to. I don't put myself out there. Cancer hit. It's like, well, if I could have died, I would have been left with the regret of I didn't. So that's when it started. I'm like, I'm putting the website out there. If people like it, they like it. People support me, they support me. I love the message. I think people will love the message. Let's see where it goes. So justonecode.com, justonecode.com is where you can go find them. You can read about it. You can read the message there. It's just something to help motivate. And more, I'm doing it for myself selfishly, because I'm like, I need to motivate myself more. How do I get this going? Because like I said, I'm hard on myself even now. part of it, man. Cancer taught me anything. It's go for what you want. Reach for it. You only live once. You could die a lot sooner. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. We say that out loud. We can read it. It doesn't mean anything to us until it actually happens to us. So again, I say this, men out there, go get checked. If you have a family, if you want to continue living, go get checked. I had zero pain. Don't be too proud, because you're going to be really proud when they tell you have no choice and this is it. So again, guys, thank y'all for all this opportunity to even speak on here. I appreciate
you
it.
coming out. I'm going to pray us out. And again, man, thank you for taking the time and being vulnerable. It's much appreciated.
And congratulations on season 2. By the way.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Lord, we come to you, and we just want to give you thanks for Alfred, God. We thank you for the message that he had, and for the just the strength to keep pushing forward in the struggles that he faced, God. We ask that you be with all those men who are dealing with the same situation, whether it be medically or faith, that you just continue to push them forward, God. May they continue to lean on you. We ask that you just heal those who are struggling with cancer. We ask you to be with those who are dealing with the emotions of losing someone to cancer, God. We ask that you continue to walk with us through our lives, God. Continue to be there for us. We ask that you be with those listeners today. May you be with them as they travel home. We pray many blessings over Alfred and his family, God, and we thank you for him being able to be here and share his story. We pray all this in your mighty name. Amen.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
It's good.
Peace.
Can we talk about how mean you were before we started this podcast? Now that it's all recorded.
Hey, it's George again. At the beginning of this episode, I mentioned that Radio Faith is working towards launching 2 new shows this year. Radio Faith is a company that produces Christ-centered content that makes an impact at the intersection of the church and culture. Saved and Tatted moves that mission forward through the raw conversations that Charles has with his guests. These 2 new shows we're working on will provide the same type of space for these type of raw conversations, but in a more nuanced way. The first show will be about sports, and the second will be about music. Both sports and music are a large part of cultures around the world. We want to provide digital content that engages these areas of interest and connects both sports fans and music fans to God. To stay up to date on when these shows will be released, subscribe to Saved and Tatted, and then jump over to the Radio Faith YouTube channel and subscribe there as well. Thanks again for supporting us along the way. I hope you have a great day. God bless.